Let's look at another example of abuse of the police power in America today. I understand that earlier this morning, the Justice Department announced a new federal policy to help state and local police officers take cash and property from anybody suspected of a crime, even without arresting them, even without charging them with a crime, and even without an arrest warrant, reversing an Obama administration rule that was put in place because of rampant abuse of people's rights across the country. This is the United States of America. The police should not be able to stop people on the street, cars, or at their homes and say, I think that the money that you have doesn't really belong to you. I think the condo you have doesn't belong to you. I think the car you have doesn't belong to you. I think your property looks suspect. We're going to seize it, and then we're going to hold it, and you've got the burden of coming to sue us to prove that your property is innocent, without charging them with a crime, without arresting them, without using a search warrant. And this is what Attorney General Sessions wants to do with the Orwellian new order that he handed down today. He wants to get the federal government back into the business of working with state and local governments to simply declare people's property and their money presumptively guilty. And then they've got to go out and hire a lawyer and go to court and prove that their property or money is clean within the eyes of the government. But whatever happened to due process? Under our Constitution, we are presumed to be innocent of crimes, and our property should be presumed to be innocent of crimes if there's no legal process at all to condemn our property or to cast a shadow of criminal suspicion over it. If you look at the history of this, Attorney General Holder barred state and local police from using the federal legal regime to seize cash and other property without criminal charges or without criminal warrants, which is the right way to do it. That's the constitutional way to think about it. In a democratic society, the people are presumed to be innocent until they're proven guilty. It's not as if we are walking around with the stigma of being presumed guilty of doing something in the eyes of the state. Since 2008, thousands of police agencies had made more than 55,000 seizures of cash and property worth $3 billion under a Justice Department civil asset forfeiture program, which allowed the police to make seizures and then share the proceeds with federal agencies. And it allowed the federal agencies to cooperate with state and local law enforcement. And then the Department of Justice said they were disengaging from that because there was a series in the Washington Post about all of the extraordinary abuses taking place. There was one gentleman, a small businessman, a Chinese-American citizen of the United States, who was traveling with a lot of money because he was going to purchase a building for his new Chinese restaurant that he was going to open up. And so he had, I think it was around $25,000 or $30,000 with them. And he got stopped by the police, and he was exceedingly nervous about the whole thing. And they said he was acting nervous, and they took his money from him, his life savings that he was hanging on to in order to go and purchase a building for a Chinese restaurant. Luckily, he found some lawyers, but it took several years for him to get the money back. He lost the deal. And he's in the minority because most people this happens to never go to court to try to get their money back. They are so terrified and demoralized by the experience of having their property taken by government agents without any due process at all. And I urge everyone to go and find that Washington Post series on the abuses that led up to the change in policy that was put into place by Attorney General Eric Holder. Now, Attorney General Sessions does a U-turn. The administration, which President Trump started by saying he wanted to give power back to the states and back to the people of the United States, instead says the government is going to be incentivizing more violation of people's due process rights by allowing seizure of people's property and money. And it goes back to what Congressman Ellison was talking about. What is this going to do for police-civilian relations in the United States when people are terrified that their property can be taken away by agents of the state without an arrest, without a criminal warrant, without any charges at all? That's not right in our country. That's not right in a country that does not allow for a taking of private property without a public purpose. It's not right in a country that's based on due process of law, that's based on probable cause and search warrants for people being searched. That's where this administration is taking us with the policy that was announced earlier today. It is going to make our communities only more suspicious and only more dangerous. We've got to step back from this Orwellian Leviathan vision of government, an all-powerful state that can seize your home or your small business because a big businessman like Donald Trump wants your property to build his casino garage for his VIP guests, or because some fancy company decides it wants to redevelop your land, or because the police decide you don't look the right way and we're just going to take your money out of your pocket. We're going to seize what's in your wallet. We're going to take your car. We're going to take your boat. We're going to take your condo or apartment without any criminal charges at all, and you go and deal with the problem. Mr. Speaker, in the United States of America, we are a land of laws. The great Tom Paine said that in the monarchies, the king is law, but in the democracies, the law is king. We have to abide by the rule of law here. And I'm not talking about Democrat, Republican, left, right. We all have to be constitutional patriots in America to stand up for our Constitution. And I would invite the President of the United States to come join us here to talk about the problem of eminent domain abuse, to talk about the problem of law enforcement taking people's property and their money without due process of law, because it's a serious threat to everything that we believe in and why we created our social contract. All of us have got to be constitutional patriots and stand up